Oh, fuck. Damn it. Okay, now. Okay, Russ is going to come at 1 o'clock. You can see it coming already. Oh. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. If you're watching live, I'm Brett. I'm your host today, and this is our weekly clinic where I answer all of your startup questions live. So if you have any questions for me, you can put them in the old chat box, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. I want to start today by talking about what being a CEO is all about. And specifically, I want to talk about one of the more uncomfortable topics of being a CEO, and that is having to fire people. And I'll start with a personal story about the first time I had to fire somebody, because that night, the night before I had to fire somebody, I didn't sleep. It wasn't because I was doing the wrong thing, not at all. It was because I knew I was going to affect somebody's life forever. Their family was going to be affected, their income was going to be affected, their stability was going to be affected. And if you don't feel that weight, then something is wrong. You should always feel the pain of having to fire somebody. And let me go a step further. The day you don't feel that pain is the day that you should resign as CEO. Why do you think firing somebody should be easy? It shouldn't. You can't emotionally distance yourself from decisions that permanently affect other people. Now, here's where you might get confused. Feeling that pain doesn't make you weak. It means you understand the cost of the decision. Here's the part you don't get to avoid. You have an obligation to the company. You have an obligation to your team. You have an obligation to the employees of the company as well. You have an obligation to your investors. You have an obligation to your customers. Having high standards is how you honor those obligations. When somebody has to leave the company, it is a tragedy and it should be treated as such. However, someone's life has been affected. They now have to find a new job. Their family now has uncertainty they didn't have before. And you, because you're the CEO, you don't get to outsource that responsibility. As a CEO, every person that is terminated in your company forevermore, it's all on you. You failed somewhere. You or your staff hired the wrong person, or you set the wrong expectations, or you avoided, or your staff avoided a hard conversation for too long. All of it's on you. There is no they here. It's you, and it needs to be treated as such. Being a CEO means you don't get to choose between compassion and responsibility. You carry both. If you stop feeling the pain, you should step down. And if you avoid the decision because it hurts, you should also step down. It's part of the job. That's the challenge here with all of this. Okay, so with that, if you have a question for me, you can put it in the chat box and I'll be happy to answer them for you. Okay, let's start with my first question. Are there consequences when you fire someone? Clearly, based on the last discussion we had, there are. And if you have to ask that question, you're already underestimating it. As I said in the opening, you're affecting someone's life, their family, their stability. So let me give you another way to think about this. Why are you asking about the consequences of firing someone, but not the consequences of not firing someone? What happens to your best people when you tolerate someone who isn't meeting the high standards in your company? What happens to your customers? What happens to the company if standards become optional? This is the part you might not want to face. Yes, firing someone has consequences too. And avoiding the decision has consequences. The difference is this: one decision hurts immediately. The other decision will hurt later. Okay, let's see our next question. How do you avoid creating a precedent when an investor seems to not want to convert the convertible note, but all others signed the equity papers? So I think what you're asking about is, with a convertible note, if one of the investors, just read that again, one of the investors seems to not want to sign it, but the others do. Well, if the note's already been created and the person's going to be investor, then they have no choice. So the question isn't, whether they're going to sign the note or not. The question seems to be whether you want them as an investor. Okay, our next question. How do you keep your co-founders from stealing your ideas? You can't. And the sooner that you accept that, the better your decisions get. Why are you assuming the risk is the ideas instead of the people? What happens if you spend all your energy trying to protect something that has no value without execution? What does that say about your confidence in your ability to build? Here's the reality: ideas are cheap. Execution is the focus point because it's rare. And integrity is also rare. So you can try and have all the protections you want: legally, secrecy, document signing. It's recruiting. Well, that's the key. You hire for integrity. Make that part of your questioning process. You watch how people behave when there's no upside. And you accept that if someone's going to betray you, you can't out-engineer that. And trying to control betrayal instead of selecting for character is how founders end up going slowly, isolated, and with the wrong team. Okay, so this is the previous question regarding the note. It sounds like you have this already. It's already been signed by everybody, and now they don't want to convert. And this was done in an equity, and you have an equity around closing. You got to talk to your lawyer. I can't read the note. I don't know the note. This is an issue for you and your lawyer. So hopefully you have a very good startup attorney. If you don't, that's what you need to find. So go find a good startup attorney. If you don't have one already, if you do, work with your attorney on this. That's how you're going to get this done. After stepping down as CEO, can Brett Fox legally and ethically start a new startup? You're asking me. I want to confirm whether this information is accurate. I'm a little confused. You're wondering, I think what you're wondering is if you can start a new startup if you've already left your old startup. That's the question. So I think the answer is just yes. So there's no more to it. Yes, you can do that. I don't know why you're worried about it, but you can absolutely do that. Okay. If you have questions for me, please put them in the chat box and I'll be happy to answer them. What factors lead to you being fired? Okay, another fun question as CEO. So I don't like the question personally, because why are you trying to optimize around not getting fired instead of what you really should be doing, which is execution, execute your plan. That's the thing you should be doing. So think about it this way. What would you have to do to stop making a question like that irrelevant? Where are you spending time protecting yourself instead of building your company? In my experience, CEOs don't get fired because of one thing or one factor. They get fired because execution breaks down and trust erodes because of it. So the real question isn't how do you avoid getting fired? The real question is how do you execute so well that your board, your investors, they never want to do this. That's the thing. And if you're focused on the wrong things, which are things like titles, structure, stock structures, all that type of garbage, you're solving for the wrong problem. Okay, let's see our next question. No idea what you're talking about. Okay. If you have other questions for me, you can put them in the chat box and I'll be able to answer them for you. I think there's a question about a meeting that I have for my free group Zero to Pitch, which is yesterday, not today. So I think that's probably why there's an issue on the timing of that, I would imagine. So that's my guess. So this is a meeting that I have for the YouTube audience, not the free group Zero to Pitch. Okay, looks like we don't have any other questions right now. So if you want to join the free community, there's the QR code for you. We go into more detail in the Zero to Pitch group. It is free to join. All you have to do is scan the QR code, answer a few questions, and you're in. That's all you need to do. And in Zero to Pitch, that's where we get you to build the foundation of your pitch in your pitch deck. And from there, if you want to take it to the next level and get yourself to be ready, investor ready, then that is the paid group Zero to Pitch Gold. So that, I want to say thank you all for spending a little bit of time with me today. I'll be back again next week at this exact same time. Take care.